luck is irrelevant without hard work.
Got it.
But not the opposite.
Okay.
So
I like
people that wait for luck
Right.
are wasting time. People that exude hard work at what they're going to achieve will move forward whether they get luck or not.
Right. All right, hello again and welcome back to another episode of the 2020 podcast, bringing clarity to entrepreneurship, business, and life. Once again, thank you so much for joining us, guys. And as always, before I start, I want to just encourage you to please share this on social media. Let me know if you're watching and listening. Take a screenshot, post it up on your Instagram, Facebook, wherever you like, and tag me. I would always love to hear what you think and get your guys' feedback. And as always, we have an amazing guest today that I'm super excited to introduce to you. He is a former 13-year pro in the CFL, two-time Grey Cup champion, multiple-time All-Star, played with our hometown BC Lions, his hometown BC Lions, and now also has two TEDx talks, and now spends a lot of his time doing speaking across North America to businesses, to schools, and anybody who wants to learn how to succeed. And of course, he is also author of the Amazon bestseller, Thank You Coach, Learning How to Live by Being Taught How to Play. And I'll tell you what, guys, we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about this book because I've been reading it and I love it. And but I should say thank you so much, Angus Reid. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for spending your time here.
Of course, it's an honor to be here, and thanks for inviting me.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you so much. Usually the way I start is to say, tell me about where you grew up and where you went to school and all that. But we will get to that because we were talking before we went on here, I'm super excited about this book and everything you talk about here. And one thing I was thinking about when I was trying to decide on guests to bring on the show before you and I had met was I wanted to bring someone on who could talk about mindset. You know, I love learning about mindset and reading about it, and guys like Robin Sharma and Ryan Holiday and other people out there, you know, who are sort of these big names that I like to read. And I was thinking, who could I bring on? And then you just happened to appear at an event that I was at, and everything you talked about resonated so deeply with me. And then I read the book and I was like, you had a mentor who was basically teaching you all these things that I love to learn from these other people. So I'd love to jump into the book, you know, and then we'll kind of go from there. So tell me, first of all, if you can, what was your inspiration to write the book? Obviously, I know it's about your coach, hence the title, of course. Was there anything in particular that sparked that?
Yeah, well, so I retired in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been 5 years now. And I'd been speaking for, you know, my last 3 or 4 years playing, and ever since I've gotten busier speaking at various events, companies, teams, and schools.
Right.
And I found myself continuously discussing lessons I'd learned from my coach.
Gotcha.
And again, I used to go home to my wife saying, I have learned so much from Coach Dan. I should write a book. And it was always kind of tongue-in-cheek. Like, I have so much messaging from him that I'm saying, I should put it all in a book. And I'd say it again and again. And in classic form, I would keep talking about something until my wife got sick of hearing about it.
Funny.
And she'd say, well, then write the book.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't know how to write a book. I don't know how to write a book. And not that she knew how to write a book, but she gave me the best answer. And as we were talking about before we went on, how do you do something? Just go do it.
Yeah.
Stop worrying about all the details that you think are important. If you have something you want to do and there's passion behind it, then just start doing it.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't read a 1, 2, 3, 4 how to write a book. I didn't outsource for someone to do it for me.
Right. No ghostwriter.
No ghostwriter. And that was a big, you know, it's funny. You talk to a lot of people now, and I kicked around with a few people. How do I write a book? And I'd say 90% of the people said, well, you sit down with a writer, tell them your story, and get them to write a book. And I said, no, I don't think you understand. I want to write a book.
Right.
I don't want someone to write a book for me.
Yeah.
I actually want to write a book. I want to go through that process. I feel like I have enough creativity in me that I want to try to pour it into this outlet. So I did it with no guidance, no idea what I was doing. I mean, I'd been speaking for a long time, so I knew how to storytell, but verbalizing it and writing it down are two very different things.
Absolutely.
But I just sat down and started writing.
That's crazy.
And I started writing it, and I didn't structure out the book. I didn't map it out. I just started relating the messages and lessons I learned, tried to package them each into a chapter, and then tried to organize it, and fumbled my way through it. And then on the back end, reached out to some people to clean it up and make it look nice, and had a book.
That's amazing. That's incredible. And that, as I was again saying to you just a little earlier, that I like to encourage others to just do it. And I think sometimes I can speak for myself, as I was telling you earlier. I don't like to speak for others. Speaking for myself, sometimes you hear that advice, like the best thing you can do is just get started and then things will start happening. You hear that and you say, oh, sure, okay, that's what worked for so-and-so, but for me, I have to lay out this. But truly, it just is a matter of starting. Just start wherever you can, however you can, and then things kind of work out. And it's so nice to hear that from somebody who's successfully completed something like this.
Yeah, look, planning is important, but nothing is more powerful than action.
Yeah.
And so I know a lot of people, you can sit and plan, and if you really become worried about details, you'll plan forever and never do anything.
Yeah.
You'll sit there and always have all the reasons why you don't have this yet.
Yeah.
You still need this. You don't know how to do this. Just take action.
Right.
You know, and fill in the details as you go, and the learning curve is so much faster when you're doing, rather than thinking about it, talking about it, looking into it. It becomes... that can become a form of procrastination.
Oh, yeah.
And you can start seeing all the reasons why you're not qualified to do this. And it's a nice way to, I think, confirm why you shouldn't. But because you looked into it, you did your duty. You know, you just jump in the deep end of the pool and you'll learn how to swim pretty quick. That's
awesome. I think that's very, very accurate. And it's something that I know I often need to, even now, today, still need to hear. When I'm sitting there kind of contemplating something, I need to hear that, like, just shut up and do it. Yeah, and what I learned too, and I didn't put in the book, but you know, Coach taught me, and I learned a lot from a lot of people. Fear is the greatest impetus to action, right? But the nice thing is that the tonic to fear is action. So it's very hard to be scared when you're in the middle of doing something. True. So when we think, that's where your mind can come up with all the horrible things that are going to go wrong, all the reasons why you can't do something, and then you let fear dictate your inaction. The second you take any type of action at all, and you immerse yourself into it, that's where your focus goes. It's almost impossible to be afraid while you're acting. Yeah. Because your energy is in the action itself. So you just start doing, and then when you're done for the day, you can look back and remind yourself why you can't do something, but you have work to lean on, saying, but I've already done. Yeah. I already have produced something here. Yeah. And then, like anything else I learned when you're strength training or learning any skill, the more frequent you get into that action mode, the more confidence you build up, because you have validation. You can do this because you are doing it. Yeah. You don't need to sit there and try to gain confidence. The only way to gain confidence is to have done something. Right. To have confidence on. Exactly. Otherwise, you're just pumping yourself up with false sense of ability. Just do, correct, improve, do it again, review, correct, improve, do it again. Repeat. And all of a sudden, you've accomplished something. And you've improved because you've done something. And it can't be more simple than that. But again, it's the beginning of action, I think, that starts everything. And then momentum takes over. It's simple but not easy, right? That's kind of life in a nutshell. Yeah. It should be simple anyway if you simplify it. Well, kind of on the same note, I want to go back to the beginning of the book and or earlier part of the book and part of the story that I heard you tell in person. And if we're thinking about all the reasons why we can't do something, right? There are a lot of reasons why you could not have been or shouldn't have been pro center, you know, before the Grey Cups and the All Stars. And I was hoping you could touch on that and why it's better not to stop yourself in the beginning. You know, don't limit yourself just based on what the rules are or what's written down. Yeah, or what what you think the standard needs are for whatever you want to get done in life. And it's a tough place now. I mean, the world is becoming more competitive, particularly for people who have large aspirations. And the world is becoming more shared in terms of what people have. And so it can be very daunting, I think. If you have large aspirations, it's very easy to see all these people out there that have more of what you think you're supposed to have than you do. It's very easy now to have visual reminders on a moment-by-moment basis with social media to realize why you have no chance at achieving what you want to chase. And pro sports is one of those worlds where the needs or the wants, shall we say, are generally very tangible. They're measurable. Right. They're physical.
You know, athletes are big, fast, and strong. Bigger, faster, stronger than other people in the world. And they've got it down to a science where, depending on what sport you want to play, or even what position in that sport you want to play, they're going to tell you kind of ideals. This is what you should have, or what we expect you to have, or what you will need to have to be able to have a chance to be successful at this given career. And I was an offensive lineman. And offensive linemen, for those that aren't familiar with football, they're the biggest, strongest athletes in the whole world. I mean, these are massive human beings. Yeah. The average is somewhere around 6'4" to 6'6". It's kind of your average. Okay, those are just what people are.
Right.
They're 320 to 360. I played with a guy who's 390 pounds.
390. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
They can move very well over short periods of distance. Yeah. They're athletic. Some guys can dunk basketballs. They're as strong as anyone you'll ever want to run into, and they're just massive human beings. Yeah. And that's a reality that you don't work on. You kind of have it or you don't, right? It's not like you can decide to improve on my height, or I'm gonna start working on becoming massive human being. Well, you can gain weight, but it's hard to elongate or enlarge your hands or make your feet size 16 because you're willing that to happen. and I learned very quickly that I didn't have any things needed. I mean, I'm an average size guy. I'm a big guy by normal standards, but you know, I'm barely 6'1". I sit around 230, 235 pounds. I'm a good sized guy. Yeah. But by the standards of what I want to do with my life, I don't have a chance.
Right.
You know, I have small hands and small feet by the standards of what I wanted to go after. Yeah. So, you know, I was given every tangible reason why I had no chance.
Right.
No chance.
Right.
So I had one variable I could control, which was my body weight and my strength. So I made myself as strong and big as possible, and I somehow jammed 300 pounds into this frame, and I was exploding everywhere. But it was the only variable I could control on the physical side.
And I have to say, sorry to interrupt you, but when I saw you at the event, I was like, "That's Angus."
Yeah,
it looks different to me. If you're not familiar with Angus, go look up Angus Reid when he was playing.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, he looks a little bit different.
Right? I played around 310 pounds. And so, again, it was the one thing I could control physically, so I controlled it. Yeah. You know, and I did what I could do instead of leaning on all the things that I couldn't do. I couldn't make myself taller. I couldn't make my arms longer. I couldn't make my hands bigger. I couldn't make my feet bigger. Yet I knew that's what they wanted. But I knew what I wanted.
Right.
I wanted to compete and make it at that level.
Yeah.
So I did what I could do. And then there was the other things you could control. How well you studied the game,
right?
You know, all the intangibles of becoming a leader and all the things that you could do. And you know, I made it to the pro level, but I kind of was a last guy in.
Right.
You know, the last guy that they chose, and maybe because they had to, maybe because they ran out of other options, I snuck in.
Yeah.
Right? But what matters is you do what you got to do to get in. You got to get in, and that's when I met my coach. And I'm sitting here at a level now where I'm going, I am overwhelmed. Like, I made it. When you get there, and I don't know if anyone's ever had huge aspirations and you finally get to that level, and then you all of a sudden realize, I am overwhelmed. Like, these people are all better than me. Yeah. They're all bigger, faster, smarter, richer, whatever the world you've entered now, and you're new to it, and you're kind of at the beginning, at the bottom, and you have that moment when you're going, maybe I don't belong here. Right. You know, maybe I don't. And I think a couple things can happen in that moment. You can crumble, pack your bags, and go home. You can have something inside of you that rises up, or you can get really, really lucky, as I did, and run into a mentor or a coach or somebody that says, "Okay, you're here. Now I'm going to show you what it really takes.
Right.
I'm going to show you what really matters if you want this." Yeah. And you learn very quickly what I learned, that you need base foundational things to get to any level in life. There are certain minimum standards, whether it be schooling, education, requirements, physical ability, to be able to do what you want to do.
Yeah.
You can't just do something because you feel like it.
Right.
There are necessities to be able to achieve to get to a level. But once you get to that level, there's still a massive pecking order of where you fall.
Right.
In terms of gifts and abilities and resources.
Yeah.
But once you get to that level, wherever you fall in the pecking order, adding more of those gifts, resources, and abilities aren't going to be the things that are going to make you succeed, and definitely not to continue to succeed.
Right.
And that's where kind of my coach came into my life, and that's where the book was written, because that's when I sat down and really realized, even in the sporting world where it's physically dominated by what you have as in terms of your physical abilities, the people that win and the people that succeed and the people that build careers, it's about something different. It's about something a lot more than just having talent or smarts or some sort of ability that you had. It's something a lot more.
Yeah, and actually, that's something I wanted to say in the beginning of this that I should have said to the audience, which is like why. Again, I was mentioning to you, probably a lot of people listening are in the optometry or, optical industry. There are, thanks to people who reached out to me, plenty of people listening who are not in that space, but maybe wondering how is a former pro athlete going to help me in my business or whatever I'm doing. And I mean, the subtitle in the book is where it's all at, learning how to live by being taught how to play. And there's so much in there. The quotes that that either Coach Dan has or that you kind of refer to, like we don't rise to the level of our expectation,
fall to the level
of our training. And that applies to everybody everywhere, right? Like you show up, I'm showing up to this podcast. I'm not going to just be like, oh, I think I'm going to have a really great interview with Angus. I have to, I read the book. I wanted to make sure I had some ideas what I wanted to ask you and where this conversation was going to go. And that applies right across the board. And I, if you have any more thoughts, just kind of along those lines of the life lessons that Coach Dan kind of instilled in you.
Well, I think even backing up, what am I doing on this podcast? And there's two things that you can always dive into, and it's the two levels of coaching and teaching. Okay, there's coaching and teaching someone to improve at the skill needed for the job or the activity, right? So, whether it be in sports, I'm a good coach if I teach you how to be a better football player,
right?
And give you the skills and the techniques and the conditioning needed to perform at this task. And likewise in your profession, you learn the skills needed to be very good at your job. Okay, that's a good coach. That's level kind of one.
Right.
Level two is doing that, but layering within that, being able to transfer those skills to broader things. So, I mean, my big thing on sports is, particularly at the amateur level, we have such a push now to improve youth sports by bringing coaches that can coach the game better, the skills better, so we can win more games and be better at the sport. Right. And that's great, but it's kind of limiting if you're not using the sport to teach them things that they can take with them after the game and utilize in the same avenue when they become parents, when they become business owners, when they become community leaders.
Right.
And they should be able to transfer the how.
Right.
This is how you get better. This is not just what you need to improve here. This is how you do things. And the whole premise of the book was using sports to teach me how to do anything. So you're learning the skills you need to play to do your job. You need to do that. Right? You need to be a good professional, and you need to be able to do your role as best as possible. But the great coaches and the great teachers layer within that a bigger how to do things that you now realize, I leave the football field and I go home. I've learned how to communicate with my teammates in a stressful situation while staying calm and solving a problem in a manner that's productive. You take that home into a stressful situation in the family life with your wife and with your family or whatever may be going on. You understand how to communicate in a productive manner of solving a problem while staying calm and cool and collective and staying focused on what matters most. And you take that into your business world. You look at how to prepare.
Yeah.
So I could teach you how to study and prepare for your opponent on the field, like you would prepare for a patient that you have to do something with. But if I haven't taught it in a way that you know how to translate that to how to prepare for everything, what a wasted opportunity. I'm a good coach, not a great coach. Gotcha. And so a great coach will teach you how to focus on details while you're seeing the macro picture. While you always focus on the micro, what's happening, you never lose sight of the macro and big picture of how that relates to it. I've learned how to transfer that to everything I look at, and how to study something while never losing sight of the context of that in a bigger avenue. So you're always planning long term while dealing with right in front of you. Yeah. That was taught to me in a football sense, where I was a center, so I'd have a big 300-pound player right in front of me.
Yeah.
Okay, right in front of me, and that's going to be my problem. And we had really detailed targets. On certain play, you don't just block him. You put your left hand on the stitch of their number here, and the right hand on the other side of the stitch. Like, very precise, really, really micro detail. But at the same time, I had to visually be aware of the other 11 players behind him and what they were doing, because their movement would dictate what he would do. And so there was always the micro and the macro happening at the exact same time. And I was not just taught to read this and read that, I was taught how to do that. So again, you get into life and you have your issue right in front of you at work or with your friends, but you always are able to not lose sight of the bigger picture of the day and of the week and of the month and how that fits in.
Yeah.
And how dealing with this can affect all of that and how all of that can affect this.
Right.
Those are massive lessons that a great coach uses in sport, a great teacher will teach you, and you don't even know you're learning it.
Right.
It's in the phrasing of it, the repetition of it, but really it's in the installing of the skill that is much broader than just what you need to do your job. I'm going to teaching you to get better at your job to allow you to understand how to get better at everything else.
Right. That's excellent. Back to Coach Dan for a second. We were chatting about how, and I mean, I read it in the book, he didn't go easy on you.
No.
Ever.
No.
And how that, these days, the way he coached probably wouldn't work.
Yeah, he's had to change. So he's still coaching, and Dan's in his 70s now, and I actually had dinner with him a few nights ago. I was in Toronto. He's in Toronto now. And, I was asking him about the shift in football, but in its society in general.
Sure.
Right? I mean, I think it's not as acceptable to push people that hard on a daily basis because that's the way we do things. And there's a big shift to, we call it taking care of people. In sports world, though, they call it load management.
Yeah, oh my God.
Right?
I'm a big sports fan, and I swear I can't believe how much I'm hearing that word.
Yeah, and there's a phrase that's in the book that Dan taught me, and I have never forgotten this. And he reminded me that the world won't go easier on you just because you start going easier on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And to me, that was powerful because we can now not push people as hard. But the world hasn't gotten any easier.
Mm-hmm.
And again, you don't rise to your expectations, you fall to the level of your training.
Right.
And particularly if you want to do something great with your life, it's going to involve a difficult road, great struggle. You need to be prepared for that on how you act and train yourself on a daily basis. And football is a brutal sport. Okay, and again, we come back to what it really takes to make it.
Yeah.
And you can have all the skill, all the talent, all the abilities, but when you're exhausted and maybe you're pretty banged up and the game is on the line, so there's psychological stress and the fans are booing and it's minus 30 degrees because you're in Regina.
Jeez. Yeah.
Your talent and your ability matter little compared to your iron will to keep going and pushing through difficult, tough situations.
Yeah.
And something told me, and I think it was Coach Dan, I can't remember, but your talent is only as great as the largest distraction you can withstand. You think about that.
Yeah.
And what we do in life with a lot of our youth now, and a lot of people.
Can you repeat that just one more time?
I hope I can. Your talent is only as great as the largest distraction you can withstand.
Right.
And if you think about that, you realize what we do in life, because we generally care about the people we work with or raise or coach, we try to remove distractions from them. We try to remove hardships. We do with our kids. I mean, we're all guilty of it.
Yeah.
Make it easier.
Right.
You don't want to see them struggle. So we try to remove obstacles. And you see it in amateur sports now, a lot at the college level. Remove all the distractions. Make sure you have all the meals made for them. Make sure you do all their laundry for them. Make sure you have a tutor to help them with work, because those are hard distractions that drain energy from performance. So all we want you to do is focus on this and have no other issues in your life.
Yeah.
And so we constantly try to make life easier so you can just do this. And what's happening is you can't ensure that distractions won't be there. They're always going to be there. So the better way is to constantly be preparing you to deal with more and more distractions at the same time.
Yeah.
Build a tolerance.
It's like the opposite, actually.
You need to build a tolerance
Right.
to be able to withstand distractions and still perform at your best.
Yeah.
Because what happens is all is good and fun while you're in this bubble where nothing can impact you negatively, and all you have to do is what you've been taught, and it's all nice and good.
Yeah.
And everything's perfect.
Right.
You sleep great, you eat great, everything's great, weather's perfect, air conditioning's right where you want it, and I can really perform well.
Yeah.
That's great.
Right.
So,
often
what
does it
happens
actually-
when everything goes sideways? The person that has been dealt pretty hard blows every day it's no big deal. I can keep doing what I do. The other person has never been exposed to this or been sheltered from this, a lot of times fall apart.
Yeah.
And then that's where, again, he taught me what it really takes to win. And that's why he was so hard on me and pushed me, because, my career was built on me being able to withstand more than the people around me. And so that's where 13 years comes from. And that's where winning consistently comes from, because winning consistently means you're able to deal with all the hardships that a season's going to throw at you and a life's going to throw at you, but you keep performing at the same level as always. Where, people that have great talent and great abilities but haven't been prepared to handle ups and downs, their performance tends to go up and down with the distractions and the problems. And we allow that, saying, well, they're going through difficult times, that's why. Where you see the truly great performers, their focus and commitment to what they're doing doesn't waver based on what's happening around them.
Right.
They don't allow external circumstances to dictate internal focus. And that, to me, is the mark of real professionals, the great ones. Their performance is not altered by external circumstances, where a lot of people call them amateurs or call them people that haven't been prepared at that level. They can do amazing things. Highlight films are unbelievable. But the consistent game film, there's a bit of a roller coaster to it. And you can track it, usually because they're a little banged up, they're a little tired, they're a little sore. Things haven't been perfect. So their performance can't stay at that high level. And I learned a long time ago from Dan that you can't just want that either. You have to prepare for that. And that's daily preparation of doing things that most people don't want to do. So when it matters most and life has thrown the biggest punch to you there is, you just keep doing what you do, because that's just normal for you. Right. And that to me is, that's when you've really, really made something. Yeah.
So this concept of will, this iron will, this ability to basically kind of be numb to the external so your internal drive can maintain, is that something that can be taught, or do you think you're born with it and the rest of us are SOL?
Right. I used to think that when I wrote the book, I was sure that Dan taught me this. But you back out a little bit and you realize there was obviously some internal wiring from me, and I came with something that obviously had built in me an ability to do more than most and stay stubborn to what I was going to do. Sure. So I think it's still that nature nurture conversation where I think it's a bit of both. Yeah. But I think 100% it can be improved. Wherever you fall in the spectrum of having that in you, a great coach can heighten it. Can raise your level of tolerance to nonsense and distractions, and that's going to come down to how they push you in the training and how they don't allow you to give into distractions on a momentary basis, and how they keep redirecting you to the task at hand until you finish it, and that becomes learned behavior. And for some, it's going to be easier than others, but everyone can improve where they're at. And I really believe, iron will, similar to trust, what I speak on. I think it's a skill, and skills need to be learned. And they need to be learned by being taught, and they need to be taught by being defined what it is, and by having exercises set up to improve it, and then repeating the exercises on a frequent basis so it becomes normalized, and that's how you change how you act.
Right. You said you did a TEDx talk on trust, is that right?
I did a TEDx talk on trust, and my whole premise was I broke down trust, and it was taught to me by Dan, as being a skill. And I think that was an idea a lot of people maybe don't wrap their head around. They think of trust like love. You kind of have it or you don't, right? Like, and then you kind of maybe back into why, but you don't think of it as a skill, because as soon as you think of something as skill-based, the onus is on you to practice and improve the skill or not.
Right.
And the definition of a skill, as learned to me from Coach Dan, was anything that can get improved with practice, or anything that can erode without practicing. So my question to everybody was, can you improve trust with somebody?
Of course.
Sure. Can you erode trust with somebody?
Right.
So it's a skill. And so the question is, what are you doing? What are the things that improve it, and what are the things that erode it? But the biggest question I always ask people, and when I speak to businesses, how high do you place trust on your priority level of importance? And almost everybody raises their hand. Some of them, it's a core part of their principles or values, or whatever. Trust, right? This huge word. I say, okay, so we all agree that it's high on our value system and priority. Yes. So how many of you intentionally practice it every single day? And I get blank stares. How many are intentionally working on it every single day?
Right.
Nobody. I said, well, it's this important to you and nobody works on it. It doesn't make any sense to me because nobody has thought of it in that way that you either are actively improving trust or it's eroding because of your lack of practice.
That's such an excellent way of looking at that. I never thought of that. Not as a skill, but the fact that if you're not actively working on it, it will erode.
Like any other skill. So you don't practice something, it goes, right?
This maybe seems like a dumb and obvious question. Who needs to be practicing it?
Everybody.
And with whom else, if that's right?
So the people that it matters most with. Okay. So I pulled it from a football team, and we had our micro, which would be my offensive lineman beside me. And then on a little bit more macro, the team itself. And you look at building trust, and I look at any skill, and you need to find actions that will improve the skill. And they can vary depending on the context of what you need to improve on. I look at strength was a big thing I had to spend my life improving. Strength is a skill. Mm-hmm. You practice and get better, or you don't. But you need to practice certain actions to improve the skill. Right. So you can choose the back squat, the bench press, or whatnot, and measurable actions that you now compact into a training protocol that you do on either a daily basis or every other day basis to equate to improving the skill of strength. And if you don't do these actions, you lose the skill.
Yeah. So
you look at something like trust. And you look, okay, what are the actions that I need to choose that are important here that will enhance trust in the world that I live in? Mm. And for ours, it was, and they're usually hard acts that are simple but not easy.
Right.
And so the biggest trust building actions that I saw that were not just football but were universally needed were absolute honesty. Mm. Absolute honesty. Rare in today's world.
Very hard.
Rare.
Yeah.
It's simple though.
Yeah.
But it's so rare.
Yeah.
But without absolute honesty, everything else you say comes into question, so you have no trust. Mm. Talent, skill, knowledge is irrelevant if I don't know that you're being honest with me. And the second that's questioned, it's gone. Mm. Absolute honesty is number one. Now that's an action. Right. You're either being honest or you're not.
Right,
it's a choice. It's a choice to improve trust on a daily basis or not. It's on you. So you can't say, well, we value trust. If you valued it, you'd work on it. If you valued strength, you'd get in the weight room and do your workouts.
Yeah.
If you valued trust, you do your exercise every day, which is practicing honesty. Great communication. So we're talking articulating, verbalizing, eye contact, body language, and then listening, active listening, repeating, all the rabbit holes, right? Yeah. Are you practicing that every day?
Right.
Or you just kind of hope you have it?
Right.
Hope isn't a skill. I've always been very clear on that.
Good point.
Hope is not a skill.
Yeah.
Hope is what you have in the absence of having done any work.
Sure.
Right. So that is a lazy man's way of saying, well, we hope we have trust. Well, improve the skill or don't. You don't have it. And then finally, and this is maybe the hardest part of the three big actions, is you need to have direct accountability, real accountability, based in the framework of absolute honesty and great communication. If you don't have that, there's nothing to tie it together. Because how do I vet honesty if there's no accountability? Mm. You're just lying to me and saying, I don't know the difference. So there has to be, and when the football world is great at this because we have our huddle.
Right.
So we would huddle after every play.
Yeah.
So what would happen in this 30-second window, 30 seconds now.
Yeah.
30 seconds creates stress because you don't have much time.
Yeah. Stress
brings out emotion brings out honesty. People don't have time to put on a poker face, they don't have time to come up with a good story, a good lie. You got honesty.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't always like it, trust it.
Yeah.
Finally, everyone's speaking the truth.
Right.
I know where you're at now.
Yeah.
And remember a thing with trust. I don't have to like you to trust you.
No, that's true.
It's not about making friends and making sure everyone likes you. It's about being trusted that I know what you're going to do in a situation that matters most. Then I can navigate accordingly and go do my thing. And not wonder, not be sure. I like you, but I don't really know. That's a scary place to be in when you get in high stakes.
Yeah, I bet.
So we practice these things, and I talk about frequency of practice. So, look, I tell people all the time, you want to get stronger. These are the exercises. The more frequent you do them, the faster you'll get stronger.
Yeah.
So, you want to practice honesty, great communication, accountability. The more frequently you do that, the higher you'll build trust, or you'll find out you don't have it. So you have your monthly meeting once a month, and you do it. It could take 7-8 months to realize if someone's kind of lying, because you have a month in between to come up with good stories.
Sure.
You can fake it once in a while. We would huddle 70 times in 3 hours after every single play. Right. And it seems redundant, but what happens is you learn very quickly who people are. And that is so much comes back to our initial conversation. You want to win as a champion, as a team, with anyone, and who isn't on the team? Business, sport,
right.
Your talent becomes irrelevant if I can't trust you.
Right.
And if I can trust you, your talent isn't nearly that important anymore.
Right. Because
we all shore up each other's strengths and weaknesses. If I can trust you, that means I can maximize who I am, because I'm not worried about what you're going to do.
Right.
So I'm all in with what I'm going to do, knowing what you're going to do.
Right.
We are so much stronger than a group of talented players that don't have trust, because there's always a hesitation, there's a wonder, there's a weight, there's an uncertainty amongst all, and there's a holdback of giving everything because I don't really know.
Yeah.
So you need to practice these skills. And I speak to businesses all the time how to implement this without adding more work to your day, and you'll see productivity rise.
Yeah.
You will at least maximize what you have. And that is so much better than minimizing great talent. So much more powerful.
Right.
And it's available to everybody, but like any skill, you have to be willing to engage in the daily practice.
Yeah.
Or not.
Wow, there's so much there, so much amazing knowledge and information there, and that absolutely can be applied, like you just said. It's not just a sports
No, I learned it in sport, but it's universal.
Of course.
I'll leave you with this because that's how I finished my TED Talk. I learned it in football. I do workshops with businesses on how to implement this. But I'll tell you where the most powerful place of all is. With your family and the daily meal. Do you sit down as a family every day and have meal for 5 seconds, 5 minutes, or whatever time you have? Do you carve out the day to have your daily practice? So you sit down with people that matter, that should matter most in your life. And you look each other in the eye and you have honesty about how the day went, communicate problems, help each other solve problems, move forward, and pose what we're going to do tomorrow with our life so we can set the rules for accountability.
Yeah.
So when we meet tomorrow, did we do anything we said we were going to do? How can we help each other improve?
Yeah,
what are we going to do tomorrow to get better? We're all in this together. And I grew up in a family that I'm one of 6 kids. We all played sports. We're all running around. So sometimes meals were 45 seconds. But my parents knew the power of that daily trust building.
Yeah.
That's why we're a tight family. And I have siblings now that we can solve problems. We call each other for help because we built that skill on daily practice. And I see these families, they go, why don't I have any relationship with my kids? When did you practice it on a daily basis? When did you build the skill? Because remember, hope is not a skill.
Right.
And hope, I think we lean on a lot when we start using words like trust. We hope we have it. That's really dangerous and really lazy when you just need to sit down and if it's important to you, build a framework to improving it and do it.
Yeah.
And I can't say where you'll go, but you'll get better.
Yeah.
Wherever that goes, we're talking again about iron will. Like, everyone will have different limits based on where you start, and everyone has different abilities and different comfort levels. But anything can improve with work.
Yeah.
And so if it matters to you, why aren't you doing the work?
Yeah. And it's funny because I was thinking, okay, transfer that from sports to business, but of course that transfers so well to family.
Everything.
That's another team, and the most important team.
Everything.
And that daily huddle.
And think about this. Talk about transferring of coaching from the very beginning. We talked about, I can coach you football, but I can coach you life. So we can sit down and have family meal because we have to eat.
Right.
But I'm coaching you on how to build trust, how to communicate, and how to bond a relationship through a meal.
Right.
So the point is this, and you talk about a daily meeting in an office. It's like a meeting. Why don't we just email it out? And I've learned this a long time ago. You don't build trust by that because nobody trusts the message, they trust the messenger. You don't trust information, you trust the person relaying it. And without a human context to it, it's just information. And so you can go get food because you need to eat. You can outsource the information to an email, or you can meet. And my big benefit is, or my big belief is, you don't want to add more to your day. Use what we already have to do.
Right.
We have to meet, we have to get information, we have to eat. Right? We have to huddle to get the play in.
Yeah.
Why don't we use that as a trust building exercise because we already have to do it? And so it's not, the benefit of a meal is getting food in your body to nourish you. The benefit behind the benefit of a family sit-down meal is building trust.
Yeah.
Built within it. The benefit of a meeting is getting information out. The benefit behind the benefit of people coming together and communicating and talking is using it to build trust.
Yeah.
And so you're already doing these things. Why don't we maximize that outlet to build something that, to me, is far more important without creating more work.
That's amazing. Amazing. Trust is, that's not a topic I was planning on discussing. That it wasn't on my radar, but I'm so glad I did because it's so important. And to be honest, you're highlighting some things in my own personal behavior at work, and that I maybe need to improve on versus, the sending up the memo versus
we all need to
sit down. So, all right. Well, thank you for that. Couple things I do want to start to kind of wrap up, and I have a few questions usually that kind of lead us down that path. But a couple things that you were just mentioning there that I want to touch on is the one word you used early on in that chat about trust was choice. And I think that's something I really like to mention to people. Everything we do, our entire life is based on choice and the choices we make in every little situation. And like the simplest, most basic choices of sushi versus pizza, or the choices we make to have a conversation or don't have it. And I think that's just a very, very important thing to keep in mind. Of all the choices we make, and kind of be conscious of as many of them as we can, and not just hope that we're making the right ones.
Yeah, I think the power of choice is, I was speaking at a BC Lions conference. It was a youth conference Sunday. 120 kids from all over the province. Some kids had come from remote areas. One kid said he'd never seen an elevator before.
Wow.
So we were exposing them to options and ideas, and I spoke on the power of choice. And I took them down the road of the two sort of pillars of choice that I see in life. There's the what and there's the how. And the what is the one, said sushi or pizza, right? The what seems to be the one people focus on because it's the easy one. What do I want to do with my life? What job do I want? What clothes do I want to wear? What movie do we want to see? What do we want to have for dinner?
Right.
And we think these are all the choices we get to make, and we talk about, make sure that you own that choice. That's on you, and that's fine, and it's important to know. But I think the much more important pillar of choice is in the how. And I think that's the one that doesn't get enough attention, and we don't educate or coach or teach people on. That's the one that's going to make your life. So I don't really care what you want to do with your life. There's no real right answer.
Right.
There's no must-do career or you lose, or this is better than that. It really isn't. Some will pay more than others, but there's no better.
Yeah.
Like, you pick what you want, and don't. I think too many of our youth have so much anxiety about what they're going to do with their life.
Right.
I'm going to tell you right now, it doesn't matter. Find something that aligns with your talents and likes. That's probably your good number rule. Find something that's going to allow you to bring what you like to do, to bring some value to the people around you. Something.
Yeah.
And that'll change as technology. So the opportunities are always going to be evolving. So don't think this is what I need to do with my life. You need to do something. So why not do something that's going to allow you to pour your talents and energies and likes into an action. And those opportunities are always adapting, so you'll change too. So don't worry about the career.
Yeah.
Just we talked about the beginning. Take action. Do something.
Right.
Do something and you'll find your way.
Yeah.
The how choice is way more important.
Right.
How do you want to do it?
Yeah.
Are you going to put everything into it or half-ass it?
Right.
Are you going to be doing something while your mind's over here, or are you going to pour every ounce of what you have? So we say, sit down and have a conversation today. Good, I did it, tick the box. How did you have the conversation? Were you all in with your thinking? Were you all in with your listening? How you choose to do what you're going to do will define you far greater than what you choose to do.
I love that.
And I think people think the opposite. I caution athletes all the time, and now I'm realizing I'm having to caution business people. What you do cannot be who you are.
Okay.
You cannot define yourself by what you do.
Right.
You cannot. It's a horrible trap that athletes are now, we're starting to realize the danger of that. They define their identity of what they do. I could not be a football player. That can't be who I am. Can't be who I am. Because the second that career's over, who am I? Right. I've created my own void. I did that myself.
Yeah.
How I played is who I am.
Right.
How I went about my business, because that is 100% transferable. The attention to detail, the effort, the caring, all the things that coach taught me, how I did that in that outlet, you can take to every single other outlet. That's who you are.
Yeah.
That's who you should define yourself as. Nobody can ever take that away from you. That can't be fired. That can't be, I can't have an injury that ends all that. So I think we wrap ourselves up in the choice of what to do so much. How you do it is so much more important. That will define who you are. Those are choices available to everyone at every single second. How you go about doing whatever you've chosen to do. And whatever you've chosen to do might change a lot. And that, as we spoke about before, about staying focused on the task, should never distract you from how to do things.
Right.
Where, you were all in here, that's now been removed from your life. You should be able to go all in here because that's who you are. Yeah. You shouldn't adapt and be like, well, now I'm all bummed out. No, in here, how you go about things is always within your control. And your ability and your talent, again, is only as strong as the greatest distraction you can hold. And distractions of losing careers and changing jobs are always with you. How you do what you're going to do at every moment is what matters. And to me, that is the real measure of who you are as a person, not what you're doing.
That's amazing. That's really, really incredible. And that's still a choice. How you do it is your choice.
Every second. And that choice never goes away.
Absolutely. I love that. And as I was saying, so if we kind of move towards wrapping up, I have a few. This is going to be a new little practice I'm having with you here. A few quick sort of rapid fire questions. And then I have two longer questions at the end. So who's the best? Oh, you know what? I want to go back. One thing I want to say about the book for people who are wondering if they should read it. First of all, I'm a huge sports fan, right? In general, I love sports. I love football. So it's really cool how you kind of intertwine the X's and O's into the actual mindset and everything else. So I loved reading about the plays, how you had to, oh my gosh, against the Alouettes, maybe you had to learn to kind of go around and block that guy. You know, that stuff is so cool to me. But of course, there was so much mindset stuff in there too. So I really loved all of that. From that, I was wondering the whole time, who is the best quarterback you've played with?
Wow, and I played with a lot that are Hall of Famers now.
Yeah.
You know, my first year, Damon Allen was there, and I played with Dave Dickinson, Casey Printers, Buck Pierce, Jarius Jackson, Travis Lulay. I'm probably missing somebody. I would say the best quarterback was Dave Dickinson.
Dave Dickinson. Yeah. Okay.
And that's not taking away anything from anyone else.
Okay.
They're all very different. As you know, greatness comes in many shapes and sizes, and so do great leaders. Dave was calm, cool, casual, but the guy that you had the ultimate trust in, that when it mattered most, he's probably going to make it happen.
Got it. Very cool. Very cool. The best or the most memorable moment of your playing career?
There's two. 06, obviously, our two Grey Cup wins, and they're polar opposites. 06, we won in Winnipeg, and it was memorable because obviously my first Grey Cup, but because we had lost in 04 in the Grey Cup, and when you lose, you wonder if you'll ever get back here. It was the same team, and it was a great 3-year run to get there and get it done. And then obviously 2011, we started the year 0-5. We were last place in the whole league. Everyone was against us. Media was telling us we're all done. We'll never win again. Everyone's got to get fired. We rallied and won 13 straight games, and we won it at home in BC Place.
Right, yeah, I remember
everybody. We did something no other professional football team in any league has ever done, which is start a season 0-5 and win a championship, and we did it in our own city.
That's
something that 2011. I mean, 2006 was my first one with a group of guys that we'd fought hard to get there. 2011 is just pure magic, which is a Cinderella story, but I'm so honored to have been a part of it.
That's so cool. In the book, a couple times, another thing I loved is that you make reference to some movies back in the 80s, and the ones you touched on are actually a couple of my favorite. What is your favorite 80s movie?
Wow, I am an 80s movie machine, so I'm all over the map. But I will have to say, I was raised on Rockies. Raised on them. Yeah. Like I had the VHS of all of them, and them 3-4 times a day.
Minus maybe Rocky 5.
Yeah, Rocky, but see, that was 1990, so that just pushed out of the 80s. It's gone. But I mean, I'm anywhere from Goonies to Karate Kid. Yeah. Like I'm all over the map. You name them.
That's awesome.
I love them all.
Classic.
Big Karate Kid fan. But Rockies, I did a beginning of a chapter almost on the movie. If I was to say what movies have influenced me the most as a person, it would be Rocky. I mean, anyone that knows my story, I kind of tried. I got a lot from that. You know, it's about iron will and toughness, and not having what people want, but beating them anyways, and finding ways and sticking with it. Be willing to do more, and that was kind of, I think, a lot of that was planted in me from just watching Rockies over and over and over again.
Anytime the reruns on TV, I'm
unbelievable.
Watching. It doesn't matter which one it is. But you know what? Actually, if we go back, I think even behind the scenes on the original Rocky, I think there's so much to take away.
Yes.
And Sylvester Stallone,
his own personal,
he is Rocky. He is Rocky. You know, if we're talking about taking action and having a vision and making it happen
against all odds,
Stallone and making Rocky. If you don't know it, please look it up. How Stallone made the original Rocky movie happen.
Yeah, unbelievable story. And you hear him talk, and you can see that Rocky is an extension of who he is. He built Rocky, obviously, in the like mind of his belief of, David versus Goliath, and let's go slay the dragon every day.
And it's funny, you look at him and you see the kind of the way he talks, and then you think, oh, he's probably not that smart, or doesn't, he's just an actor, but dude is incredible.
Yeah.
All right, now the longer questions at the end are maybe the more in-depth ones here. So if we could go back, if you could hop in a time machine and you could go back to a point in your life, you can choose, you can explain it or not, where you felt you were struggling. It was a very difficult time for you, whether you're a kid or an adult. What advice would you give to yourself, and then, would you give to kind of the rest of us in a sense as well?
So I don't think it's in the book, but I missed 3 of my 5 years of university. I was really, really sick.
You did mention it very briefly.
Really bad. And it's a really long story to get into what happened. My stomach, they thought I had Crohn's or ulcerative colitis. I had a lot of internal bleeding, and bottom line is I was told to not play football anymore. I had to move home. I was bedridden for a year. I'd lost like 80 pounds. I didn't want to eat, didn't want to leave my bed. My stomach wasn't working. My whole digestive system was a mess. I missed 3 straight years. So anyone that knows follow sports at all, there's no way I should be playing pro football. Yeah, 3 or 5 years, and I was away from the team. I was done, and all the advice to not play anymore. And I hit a deep, deep depression. You can imagine, as a kid wanted to make it here at college level, and I'm going to make it, and all of a sudden you get sidetracked by something that you didn't plan on and you can't control. And the advice that I would give to myself or anyone else was, 1, don't shut yourself off from your friends. I did. I hid in my room thinking, 1, I'm a failure. No one's going to like me. Who am I now? I'm nothing. And again, it comes back to the lesson I talk about now that I didn't learn at the time. I was a football player. I'm going to be a pro footballer. This is why I'm somebody. This is why I'm important. This is why people like me. And I was 21 years old, so you believe this is what makes me special. Yeah. That external career, that job, that title. And without it, I was nothing. I don't want to see anybody. I cut myself off from friends, relationships, and I hid at home and just cried and was depressed, felt sorry for myself. So don't cut yourself off and take action. I wasted the first year and a half feeling sorry for myself. The next year and a half, I started getting better. And I wasn't getting better, I just started doing things. And I started focusing on the most important thing in life. What can you do, not what can't you do? And so I kept going to all these nutritionists and doctors, and all they did was tell me all the things I shouldn't do. And I learned to change the question, what can I do?
That's excellent.
And I'll start doing that.
That's so true, because I have this conversation with others as well. Like, it seems like our medical, the way we think is, here's what you might, let's say you have colitis, you can't eat this, you can't do that, you can't. Okay, so but how about
such a negative conversation. Yeah. And I think it's done because we're trying to remove stress and problems from people's lives. So we do with our kids too. Don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, because we want to get rid of anything that could cause problems. Right? Which is great. But let's focus on do this, do this, do this, because 1, it creates action, 2, it creates confidence because they're going to be doing something, which means they get better at something. Yeah. And the most important thing is, if you're in a rut, it creates momentum. And I learned this in football, and I think it's true in anything in life. I really think it's true, but it's totally true in sports. The 2 most powerful things in a team environment is momentum and confidence, and one feeds the other.
That's right.
And there's only one way to get that. Action.
Action is the first.
You can't create it by wanting it. You do something, you realize you can, so you have confidence, and you might as well do a little bit more, and now you have momentum. And then you build more confidence. And so it's about, stop telling me all the things I can't do. That doesn't create anything except worry, doubt, fear, anxiety, and depression. Tell me what I can do. I'll start doing it, and then I'll do a little more. And then a year and a half later, I'm back to being 300 pounds playing football. Was my problems gone? No. But I learned to deal with them and shift my focus to what I could do instead of feeling sorry about all the things that were wrong with me.
That's amazing. Amazing advice. Thank you. The final question is, everything you've achieved and you're still achieving, how much of that would you say is due to luck, and how much of that would you say is due to hard work?
Good question. I don't know. All I know is I've worked as hard as possible, and I've grabbed whatever luck has come my way. I will say this. Luck is irrelevant without hard work.
Got it.
But not the opposite.
Okay.
So
I like
people that wait for luck
right.
are wasting time. People that exude hard work at what they're going to achieve will move forward whether they get luck or not.
Right.
And if they get luck, they'll leapfrog ahead. But they're already moving forward with hard work.
That's excellent.
Luck without hard work is useless. Hard work with luck is probably realistic for everyone. Everyone will get lucky. Are you working hard when you grab it is what's going to make a difference if you leapfrog or not.
Right.
And so I don't know, but I'd try not to waste 1 second on luck. And I've been very lucky.
Yeah.
But I don't focus on that. I don't wait for that. I don't strategically plan for that. I put the effort in that it's all going to be on what I do, so let's go do it. And I've been grateful for all the luck along the way. But that wasn't planned in.
Gotcha.
It wasn't part of the plan. I'm not trying to build a retirement strategy off lottery tickets.
Right.
That comes back to hope. That's not a plan at all. So I think it's a big blend, but I'm always grateful for the luck that I have, and I'm always thankful, and I go out of my way to thank everyone that's always helped me. But my plan is always based on me doing the work. And then as the luck happens, you take it, you be thankful, and you get back to working hard.
That's excellent. That's excellent. I do remember, again, a little passage from your book. This is something that you were saying is like when you have your mind set on something, when you're working hard, life will usually throw you at least a sliver of opportunity or luck or whatever, right? And then it's up to you to...
Yeah, I think people say you create your own luck. I don't know, but, you move forward because of hard work, and then you jump forward with the luck while you're working hard.
Yeah.
And it'll be there. But if you get the luck, you're not working hard, you're gonna go. One, you won't even see it. Two, you don't know how to use it. And three, it can't keep going because it's just luck and it's random. If you're already working hard, you have momentum and confidence, and it just supercharges that. Right.
That's excellent. I think that's a great place to stop. That's incredible. I want to just keep asking you more questions. But thank you so much again, Angus, for doing this. So grateful. Everybody who is listening and of course watching, the book is called Thank You Coach, Learning How to Live by Being Taught How to Play, and it's available where?
Retail-wise, all your Amazon outlets.
Amazon.
Or you can bring me in to talk and I can bring them there, but that's your retail.
That's awesome. And how do people connect with you directly?
So you can go to my website, angusreid64.com. My social media platforms mostly populated on obviously on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram at Angus_Reid64, R-E-I-D, and Twitter, AngusReid64.
Yeah, Angus, A-U-N-G-U-S, Reid is R-E-I-D. Yeah. Again, thank you so much. And thank you to everybody who watched and listened. As I was saying in the beginning, if you don't mind, please do share this. Take a screenshot, whether you're listening on a podcast app or whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook. Share it on your Instagram story. Tag me, harbirsayan.od, and tag Angus as well. Let him know that you listened and what you thought of it. And again, we will see you in the next episode. Thanks again, guys. Awesome.